You know, when the 405, 425 football games run a little long with an exciting finish, sometimes that might delay the start of the In-Ring Wrestling podcast. But that's okay, because here we are live together on a Sunday night. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Kelly, along with our host and creator of the In-Ring Wrestling podcast, Casey Thompson. Casey, I understand that you've had the corporate credit card out, and you have been doing some purchasing. Listen.
A little
I know
bit
it's
here
your
and
business.
there, you know.
I'm just saying, until we start to get some of these sponsorships lined up, I wouldn't go too crazy, you know, spending all this dough. But
you know, it's
going to be a new segment. Going to be a new segment on the show.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about wrestling history, because we had a lot of great feedback from our previous episode where we delved into some territory history, as we talked about Dusty Rhodes and
my favorite
some championship gold. It's best.
Just got to come up with the name of the segment. Maybe championship series. I mean, I don't know. Championship series. I don't know.
Something. We also need an intro.
I know. I've been thinking about that, working on it. Well, thinking more about it than working on it.
We need somebody to just make it.
Yeah, we need help.
Yeah.
Let's make this a fan participation project.
Yeah, sure, for credit.
15, 20 second open to the show?
But then I want like 5 minutes of music pad, because it gives us the opportunity to put that on at 8, and then we can run around and do
you mean the Kevin Kelly late music?
How dare you? I take credit.
Hey, I did have someone posted I got a laugh out of it. They've been under a rock, but someone posted a comment on one of our shorts or whatever, like, "Oh man, Kevin Kelly, I haven't seen him in decades, since the WWF. What you been doing lately? What you been doing since then?" Nothing.
May not have
nothing at all, bud.
But I've just been hanging out, you know. Yeah. A lot of people are like that.
You know, you only have a million miles. You only have a million miles, you're a million mile traveler to Japan.
Yeah.
AEW. I mean, pretty much everything.
I'm diamond for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I never have to fly.
There you go. I mean, pretty much everything except for TNA. Was there any thoughts or anything about TNA for you in the past, say, since WWF?
It was the first call that I made.
Oh, really?
So here's an interesting story. I got let go, and it was just budget cuts. They were going through and just cutting department by department by department. I got let go the same day a guy from accounting did, somebody from HR, a couple of creative services people. It's just the way it is. I was further down on the depth chart, and they wanted to go in another direction. They said it wasn't anything that you did. It's just a numbers game. I totally got it. So I got home, I got into work, and I had a feeling it was coming, and got home. And the first call that I made was to Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, really?
And Jeff said, "Man, I'd love to have you, but I don't have any money." And at the time, they didn't have any money. They had just cracked the can open, and we're still doing the weekly Wednesday pay-per-views. And
that's right.
They had not, gotten into the Dixie Carter monies.
Right.
By that point, I was, come and gone from wrestling, came back, and then was working with Ring of Honor. So that's the way it goes. But I do want to work for TNA once.
Okay.
Just to tick it off of my bucket list. Doesn't even have to be anything special.
Every television product since modern age of wrestling, since the Monday Night Wars.
I would have loved to have worked for WCW. That was my dream.
Well, you never wanted to work on TV.
I know, but I never wanted to work for the WWF.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
Casey, Ric Flair was my champ.
We're Southern boys. We grew up in Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
We grew up in Florida. Yeah. We believed in heels getting heat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's not what Vince wanted.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, speaking of Southern boys, I spoke to Bugsy McGraw,
yeah,
and I texted him a few times. He didn't reply, whatnot. So Jody Malenko called Bob Cook. Bob Cook, tello tello wrestler, that whole thing. So
yep,
Bob's like, "Hey, you talked to Bugsy? You heard from Bugsy? He's been sick. He's been in the hospital for the last 6 weeks." So I called and talked to Bugsy, and he got um, an infection, some
yeah,
type of infection where they not venereal, something in the blood, whatever that's called, some
okay,
kind of infection. So they put him. They said we're going to induce in coma and put him on a intubate him, put him on a ventilator. And he was on it he was in the hospital for 6 weeks. I talked to him last night. He's like, praise God. He's like, you know what? His wife was telling me they were preparing me for him
oh,
not to come out of this. He says, I'm about 99% right now. He's like, um, she said basically, she cut him off of, sushi like 5 years ago. He wanted sushi one night and, bacterial infection. And he got
oh,
a bacterial
wow,
infection. It just went bad. Then he had an obstruction in his um uh colon, not colon, but oh, what's the stuff where you pass all your food through? Intestine. That's it. He had an intestine blockage, so they didn't have to go in there. He was able to pass it. He's like, oh, you should see what it's like. I said, Bugsy, I really don't care. I'm
oh,
just
I would.
glad you're okay, bud. I don't. He's like, oh,
Did
it's all
he
black. I said,
have?
Bugsy, I don't need to know. I'm
I
good. So
did he
he
have? Did he
is
have this? It's misspelled here on screen, but is it? Did he have sepsis?
no, he had a bacterial infection. Is all he told me. So, and
Okay,
they
good.
said they think it's from the sushi. So
Damn.
they said don't eat any Chinese. She says basically any of the knees, Japanese, Chinese, any of that stuff. Don't eat it. I said okay, I don't eat it. I don't anyhow, so we're good. I don't eat
All right,
sushi.
hang on. I'm gonna try. Bugsy just sent me some pictures here. Hold on. I've got some pictures
Oh,
from the output. Hold on. No, I love that
yeah.
stuff.
I'll be
I
right
love
back. Let me
looking at
put
all.
that music on.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I love looking at all that gross stuff.
My son
But
should know
God
by now that
bless.
I'm recording right now. He's calling me.
Who?
Hey, bud. Hey, what's up? Doing a podcast. You're on it. Want to say hi to Kevin? Hey, Kevin.
What up?
Can you hear him, or does it block it out?
No, I can hear him just fine.
Oh, can't hear him. Oh, I know you can't because I have headphones on. Let me call you back after we're done. Okay, about an hour. Okay, bud. I love you.
Go arrest people.
Yeah. So he actually spent the weekend in Orlando at Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights. Do you remember the first Halloween Horror Nights? All the IWF guys worked there doing scaring people and everything. You remember that?
I totally remember all of that.
Crazy.
One of the best. It was amazing to see, and all you guys got good paydays out of it. So
Yeah.
that was great. Um,
It's funny how everything in life circles back around to wrestling. It's the
yeah,
craziest thing.
we were talking
Yeah.
at work the other night about like morning talk shows, and somebody said, "Oh, you can tell someone's age if they've never heard of Ricky Lake." And she was hot
Jeez.
for a minute in the 90s, and
Until she gained a bunch of weight. Yeah.
yeah, well, and then lost a bunch of weight, but she
Yeah.
was, like, oh, what was the show? Like a talk show? And I said, yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of Oprah and a little bit of Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
like, oh man, Jerry Springer. Oh, those people were so crazy. And I said, a lot of my friends were on Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all those hillbillies that are sleeping with their cousin. I said, no, most of that show was at work. And so I told them that
Yeah.
whole story about how you guys were all hooked up and how
They
everybody
didn't.
got paydays.
I think it's crazy that people actually thought it was like a shoot, that it was real.
Yeah, of
You know?
course.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy.
By the way,
So,
well, tonight we're going to be talking about a very taboo subject in the wrestling industry.
sure.
But before we talk about that, I do want to, if you want to know what the wrestling business is like, And if you want to know the difference between amateur wrestling and professional wrestling, I suggest that you go to season 2, episode 11 or 12 of King of the Hill.
Oh.
And the episode is entitled Bobby Slam. And it is all about wrestling. That's the whole show. It touches on, now this was made in 1998.
Wow.
So it talks about girls in guys' sports. It talks about, friends wrestling each other. And there was always that cute tension between Bobby and the girl. So she's, wanting to wrestle. And it was just, how are they going to get out of this? Was the scenario. How are they going to get out of this? And I had never seen it before. We watched it last night. And I immediately said, oh my God, they're going to gimmick this whole thing up. And that's what they did. You have to see it. It's so amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah, but you could tell that these guys were fans and had the debate amongst themselves about real and fake. And you'll see how they all react. It's incredible. So Bobby Slam season 2 of King of the Hill to delve into wrestling some more.
Sounds good. We're going to check that out.
Here's another one. I think it would have been cool to see Kevin have called ECW back in the day. The answer would have been no.
Can you scream that loud?
I could never have done what Joey Styles did.
Oh, his throat had to hurt.
If I know, but he just had that voice. But think about it. I would be the guy, let's just say Joey quit or got hired by WWE or went and he had a successful career in sales of some kind besides ECW. So let's say Joey Styles decides to move on. Kevin Kelly gets tabbed and he's in that role. I would have been so hated in that spot because I'm not Joey Styles. That's not what I do. Right. And I would have died a horrible death. I had to, like I talked about, I had to step up my game for Japan.
Right.
It would have been, but I would have loved it because I would have been produced by Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
So I would have gotten really good. Because I saw him produce Michael Cole and Taz on the SmackDown voiceovers. And they got really, really good as a team. And,
really?
Michael Cole was already good, but Taz got really, really good in his first real, extended commentary gig.
Right.
He had done Sunday Night Heat, but I think a lot of the reason why Taz has had success for all these years as an announcer was because of the Paul Heyman producing. And when you work for Heyman, it sticks with you. Because there isn't, and you may know this, there isn't an ECW guy that I have not run across over the last 20 years who doesn't talk about Heyman in either positive or negative terms, but about the way he produced talent, pushed talent, got the most out of somebody. I hear positive, but everybody.
He still owes me money.
There is that side, yes.
Yeah.
He owes
Speaking of many. You were on Sunday Night Heat a lot.
Yep.
You remember when they used to have the boys, like D'Lo had a contract. He was under contract to wrestle, and they also gave him another deal to do Sunday Night Heat.
See, that was before me. That was after me.
Oh, that was after you. Okay.
That was after me.
He used to rotate a bunch of the boys. I mean, he was doing commentary for a while and still actively wrestling.
Yeah. There was a few of them, and I think that was how they settled on Matt Stryker, right? Was because he was announcing, and then he was also wrestling and bouncing back and forth.
He was really good.
I think he was really good. I think he got, I don't want to say this as a negative, but like he got really dug in on his style and the way he wanted to do things. And sometimes that doesn't work.
You have to be able to conform to what they want.
Yep. Great long storyteller and can explain things down to the bone. Sometimes you don't have time for that.
Whatever happened to him?
He was doing AAA in Mexico for a while. And then with, again, everything in AAA changes daily.
Right.
So then he was
now
out.
Undertaker's the booker.
Now that Undertaker's the booker, Michelle McCool is going to be doing the commentary. And that will be no. Yeah, so that was, and then I saw him, I forget where I was, but I saw him at an airport, and he was on his way to, or he had just come back from Mexico City. And I was like, I'd be scared to death.
No.
And he says he kind of, he said he was kind of scared, but since he was doing the commentary with Vampiro, if he needed to go out, he would go out with Vampiro, and nobody messed with Vampiro in Mexico City. So, because he was like so well respected and legend, and everybody knew him. So, Stryker was safe if he walked around.
Sort of like going out with Conan there, probably.
Yeah, same type of thing.
Yeah.
You go out with those guys, and you're not going to run into any trouble. All right, Casey. Well, I dare say that this week we're going to be touching some nerves. And
I would imagine so.
We're going to be honest about a subject that has been lied about more than any other.
Yeah.
You had the debate of, is wrestling real or is it fake? And people would say, well, no, it's not fake. But then they got into, well, it's predetermined. Well, it's still really physical. It's, it's not like gymnastics or something. I mean, these guys really are falling down.
Right.
This is a subject of, like, it is cloaked in secrecy. And I've never heard anybody come out and say, I did this, and I did that, and I did that. At least not as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know.
I've heard people say, I've done that once, and that was it, or I did very little, and it just doesn't sit right. I know better.
And that's what we all say. Those of us within the industry say that upwards of, 80 to 90% of the guys, when we were active in the big companies, were doing this. And we are talking about anabolic steroids.
Yep.
Why do people lie about taking steroids, Casey?
I guess for their own moral character, for they can play face at the same time. I mean, there's a big misconception. My brother-in-law years ago was like, hey, what's that kind of stuff I can take? I can just inject in me. I can lay on the couch and just get in shape. I can lose weight, he said. I said, that sounds like crack to me, bud. Because if you want to take steroids, you have to diet and work your ass off to really get the full effect. Otherwise, you're just spitting in the wind, basically.
Right.
So, so I kind of always remembered that. But, it's really weird. It's funny because I was watching Maven's podcast the other day, and he was talking about wrestling movies, and they brought up the scene from The Wrestler, and how he was in the locker room. The guy was like bringing all the steroids. Here's D-ball, Anadrol, Winstrol V, naming all kinds of stuff and all that stuff. And he's like, that doesn't happen, this and that. Maven, apparently you didn't wrestle many independent shows, because I've seen a lot of guys get their gas, from one of the boys.
Yeah.
He's like, but the prices were really good. And then the one thing that I never seen was when you seen Mickey Rourke actually injecting himself with the steroids right there in the dressing room. I've never seen that before. That's
me neither.
That was Hollywood right there. I have seen boys get not only just their PEDs. I've also seen them get their Jeez. Somas, Percocets,
Yeah.
Lorcets, or Oxycontin, everything. I've seen everything. It's just and that's just not in wrestling. That's in I mean, I've seen it worse. And you could probably attest to this too, Kevin. And ever worked in a call center?
Oh,
Those
sure.
guys, those guys are the worst of the worst. They go to break and get drunk, shoot up, and everything else. So I mean, I've never been in a call center that I was like, oh man, this it's kind of skeevy.
Yeah.
It's
I was in
those are.
I
So
was
I
in
mean, it's
the
everywhere.
yeah. When you work in a call
So
center, guaranteed you're gonna enjoy a lot of secondhand smoke, at least back in the day. And
yeah.
you were
Oh yeah.
guaranteed that everybody was on drugs,
Oh yeah.
whatever they needed to do.
Nowadays they have vapes, and it seems like there's big clouds and everything. I worked at
Yeah.
an insurance call center. It wasn't even really a call center. There was only like 3 or 4 of us in there, and
Mm-hmm.
the manager, she vaped, and when she blew it, it's like I going through a wrestling entrance. That much like I could be a fog machine. So
Ooh.
I would take my fan and I'll position it right back where it would shoot right back in her face. And then one time my daughter picked me up because she was using my car or something, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, that car's on fire!" I'm like, "Oh no, that's Alicia. She's vaping, and it coming out the window looked like the car was on fire and everything." And
It
she's just
looks
like, "Oh
like
my
an
gosh."
exhaust. Yeah.
Oh
Like they're
yeah,
burning oil.
out the window.
R-
It's crazy.
Right. Um, I have seen now, let's go back to 1996, 7. Brian Pillman
Hmm.
is in
Oh
the
yeah.
WWF. And Brian Pillman got to know a doctor of some kind. He had a medical license. I'm not quite sure
Hmm.
what his specialty was, but he was from Indianapolis, Indiana. And he wrote Brian all of his scripts
Yeah.
for all the steroids that he was taking, whatever it was.
Hmm.
He smartened up the boys
Oh, I have a story to
to,
that.
yeah, to go see this doctor,
Doctor
and they would
X.
take care of you. Huh?
Uh huh. Doctor X. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
had.
then he came to 1 or 2 WWF events,
He was
TVs
the
that
most
were,
liked person ever, probably then, huh?
everybody went over and said hello to him, shook his hand. And then one day there was a memo that went out. Dr. So-and-so is no longer
Doctor
allowed.
X.
And Dr. X is no longer allowed in locker rooms or anything. And we
Wow.
had to go back and connect the dots because I don't think none of us, we weren't going over and shaking his hand to get drugs off of
Yeah.
him. But everybody that knew him was like,
Yeah.
and on to the
I give you.
next. Just waiting to find
I give you a
somebody.
story. Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
doctor that was um brought on to me by someone that was in the business. So, of course, I'm not going to mention their names because I'm not going to throw them on the bus because they're actually still friends. I'm friends with them.
Yeah.
But two WWE wrestlers or WWF wrestlers from the Attitude Era
Okay.
came with me to the doctor, and we all piled up, like 4 or 5 of us all piled up in there, and they they did our blood work and and make it all legit and everything. It's a real doctor and all that, but they're like, yeah, what would you like? And you just told them what you wanted, and he wrote you the scripts for it all. It was all legit stuff and everything. The interesting thing, it was more like a um hire you up on the. I was up pretty high because more people you brought. It was like a pyramid scheme. I was up at the top
Okay.
because I brought a bunch of people in, so the more people I brought in, the bigger discount I got on everything I wanted.
Tremendous. Tremendous.
So
So the
yeah,
WCW wrestler, you got the doctor contact from
right.
him,
Mm.
and then you became the mule to bring the boys in.
I just told all
Correct?
my boys, my buddies, like, hey, they're like, oh, so we all went together and
Gotcha.
just got hooked up, you know.
Now,
So,
did he ever
but
give you product to give to other people?
no, it was just, hey, you bring me more patients, I will give you, because they also had back in those days, you're allowed to, doctors had their own pharmacies too. So the bigger
Oh,
discount I got on pharmacies, or he would say, yeah, you don't have to pay, you don't have to pay for that. I'll get a bunch of stuff, free.
and what type of
So
stuff
I
were we
will
talking about?
growth hormone, any testosterone, Winstrol V, Deca, you name it. Anything was on the list. It was from A to Z. You just pick out
And
what you
any
wanted.
so did you go in with a a shopping list, if you will, like you knew that you wanted something
Sure.
for size and something to be lean,
Yeah.
because I know Winstrol V is like a helps you cut.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
went in with a game plan. You knew what you wanted.
Oh, I already had figured out what I wanted and just went in and
Okay.
they're like, "What do you need?" I said, "I need Winstrol. I want Deca. I want Winstrol V. I want this many kits of growth. I want this." And then I had, you know, 3 months worth of stuff, and then
And
you're off to
did
the
you
races.
guys so like when you all go to the grocery store together, everybody puts their bags in the car, and then you go, oh, what did you get? Oh, I got this, I got that. Were you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
out there in the car like going, oh, look at me, I got this?
No, but you always did look at the bottle because you're like, oh, no matter what you got, you always look at it because, oh, that's pretty cool. Making
Yeah.
sure it was all legit because you get it from so many different people. I'll give you an example. He's passed away, so a friend of mine, Todd, Thor from IWF, big
Yes.
jacked bodybuilder. He
Can't believe he was
was
on steroids. Shocked.
way, way on the yeah, way up on the. He's from Canada originally, so he'd get
Okay.
stuff from Canada and say, he's like, hey, I'm putting a listing. You want anything? I'm like, yeah, I'll take. So you have it's an ampule. It looks like a little bowling pin, but it's glass. You break the top off. It was a Ceston 250 or Omidrin, which was a testosterone, right? I paid $17 for one of those, which is 1 cc way back in the day, but I was way down the um, picking order, shall we say. So he bought it from someone who bought it from someone who bought it from someone. It got touched so many times they keep on tax and everything. So I was at $17 a piece. He's like, "Yeah, they're $5 a piece." I'm like, "Whoa, $5!" And then he's like, "Nah, just $2 for you." And it ended up he just gave them to me for free, because he was
Oh,
my boy. Ended up becoming real close, my boys and everything. So I'm like, $2 a piece. The first time was $2 a piece. I was like, I'll take 100 of them. you know,
damn.
because it's like, wow. And I never sold them or anything. I just took it and stockpiled them and kept them for myself. So,
Now,
but all the boys always looked out when you had a connect, you hooked someone else up. It's just, but
yep.
I will say this, it's not just wrestling. Okay. I will say, and I would stake almost anything on it. Every professional athlete is on it. Every college Division I wrestler, I'm sorry, athlete is on
Mm-hmm.
something. I'm on the understanding, or I'm under the belief that every um top level world class athlete is on some type of PED. That's just my own opinion. I'm not accusing, well, yeah, I am accusing everyone, but I'm not saying I know for sure. This is my own opinion. I believe everyone is taking something because one, guys can't recover that fast in order to keep it going, from
Mm-hmm.
injuries and stuff like that. They got to take it in order to get back in there and stay going. That's my belief.
Now I know, as a fan of baseball, in the up until a few years ago, that
Yeah.
the clubhouses generally had um, just greenies. They had amphetamines that you could take. Baseball players, it's like it's a long day, it's a long
Yeah.
night, it's 162 games, it's 6 months long, and Jesus, it's boring.
Long season. Yep.
So
A lot of
yeah,
injuries.
so
Yep.
you have amphetamines to keep you up, keep you going. Obviously, then you would probably need something later on to go to sleep. And that could be Ambien. That could be
Then get
anything
up in
else
the
that's
yeah.
prescribed.
It happened
And
the
then you get
same
up in
thing
the
in
morning.
wrestling. It started off, we used to have before GHB to try to wind
Yep.
down and everything. We had something you'd get from GNC called Blue Thunder. And then there's
Okay.
another one called Renutrient, and it's like a GHB base. Basically, it helps you burn fat, but if you take enough of it, it just kind of does what GHB does and puts you, woo, Cliff turned me
Was that
onto that
wait?
back in
Was
the
that
day.
Revivrant?
Yes, yes.
That's it.
Revive it,
Okay. So
yes.
here.
It tasted
So
like ass too. Oh, it was
I
bad.
know it was
You
like
take it, it was like,
poison. Ugh.
oh, that's disgusting. I
So
remember
I
once
was in.
I was laying on a single size bed that I had in one of
Mm-hmm.
the old apartments I had, and I'm laying there like this, holding on, and I'm like, oh my God, the room is spinning. I thought I was gonna fall off the bed. And this stuff, I had it on top of my refrigerator for 6 months. And I said one night, I said, you know, I'll take it. And, and I drank it, and all of a sudden I was on the phone with someone, and I'm like, hey, I gotta go. Why? Because I'm about to fall off my bed.
Yeah. Now,
And
okay. So did you have a
actually, it
cap?
was
How
Billy
much did
Gunn's
you
wife.
take?
And
Oh, there you go.
took a cap of it,
Were
but
you? Did,
because it was sitting for so long that it was so potent. But I was
oh.
fortunate enough that, yeah, I dabbled in that stuff. I'll take it, but I never got to the point where I was hooked on it where I had to have it, you know? Same thing with somas. I mean, the boys would take somas. I remember sitting there with Hack Myers, you know, at my house, and he'd be sitting there talking and be like, oh, yeah. And all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
he's talking and starting from being, oh, yeah, back to normal every 30 minutes. And then he'd get up and go and get some more somas and take them because the somas would last 30 minutes. They'd get them, he'd go down and he'd come back up and everything like that. So, and I'm like, heck, you're just wasting money, you know? I'll take them, I'd feel good,
Mm-hmm.
this and that, or I'd take them for the injury. I remember one time when Sabu, okay, we all know Sabu and his past and everything.
Yes, we are
Yes.
talking about
And
GHB because I loved it and I
yes,
miss it.
that amongst
Anyway.
other things. And I remember Sabu said to Hack, stop. You can't get any more fucked up. When Sabu tells you that, that's bad,
Wow.
you know? So,
You think about, I was in the car today and I'm with my son and we're laughing about AC/DC and the original Bon Scott, the original singer, and the Who's drummer, Brian, I can't remember what his last name was, but they were both like out of control. Just
right,
drug addicts, alcoholic, everything, And
right.
when you think about somebody like Sabu having to put the brakes on somebody like Hack Myers, and Hack had
Yeah.
he had like something with his kidneys, right? Isn't that what took his life?
No, he had brain surgery and then something with his
Yeah.
brain happened again. I think he
Oh,
knew
okay.
something was up because he started um getting back and talking to everyone like, hey, and a bunch of I love yous and stuff like that. So, that's um once they do all that, something's going on.
Right, right.
So
Um, so I was just, and I'm wondering because I saw like this is the anniversary of Mike Hegstrand's death, or yesterday was, and he was only 48 when he died.
yeah,
So obviously, big steroid user, and everything enlarges, including your organs, and
right,
that's the reason that his life ended. You look at Triple H.
yeah,
Triple H was well known for being a big steroid guy. And,
sure,
Bob Holly told me, he said he's spending like 50 grand a year on gear. Really?
yeah,
50,
oh yeah,
50
yeah,
grand. Oh, well, and this is in 98, 99.
hmm
And obviously, when he had heart problems a couple of years ago, more than likely it was related to, could have been very easily
sure.
related to steroid use.
You know, uh,
Who knows?
allegedly there's talk on the internet about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, that doctors have told him that he needs to lose weight. It's too much
Mm-hmm.
pressure on him. cut back and this and that. I mean, who knows? He says he did it for a movie part. I also heard that he has some health scares also. So I mean, um, it is what it is. It's not good for you in the long time. And I mean the long term and everything, but so
Did you
I
have
do.
any? Have you had any? When did you start using steroids? When did you stop?
Um, I did it for about 10 or 12, 13 years, like straight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I started in my mid 20s. You can see my wrestling career once I started getting to really good shape. I was on everything. I was, jacked, had my flat stomach, abs, and everything. So, um, and then up until my son was born, and of course, my son was right at 10 pounds, 23 inches long, which is a big baby,
Giant
and
baby.
3 weeks early. They
Oh
said
my God.
the baby, yeah, and I was on a bunch of growth at that time. So I think it might have had something to do with that. When he was conceived, I was on a bunch of growth, and they said the last trimester, the baby usually gains about a half a pound a week, and my son was gaining a pound and a half a week. So they said at full term, he would have been like 11, 12 pounds, big old boy.
Damn.
So, um,
And when
well,
he
I will tell you
and when
something,
he finished
something that,
growing, he was how much taller is he than you? He's like 6'2", right?
I think I've shrunk. He's like, he says 6 foot. I think he's like 6'1" ish, maybe a little taller. I think he's still growing, maybe. And then his
Yeah.
biggest, he was 275, but now he's done wrestling in college and everything. He's down to like 205, just lean and very agile and can run 20 miles at one time. So he's
Yeah.
feeling good, looking good, and everything like that.
All
So,
right. So what was now Davy Boy Smith, who I
ooh,
always loved. I loved being around Davy because Davy
he's
was
never
one
did
of the
anything.
most he was one of the most honest guys when it came to
Okay,
steroid use and others on steroids.
I
And he would
respect
say,
someone like that the
yeah,
most.
yeah. He was like, oh, look at him. He's so gassed. He's so gassed up.
You know
And it'd
who?
be like, really?
Mike Enos
Oh,
was like
yeah.
that.
I love it. That's
When we were
great.
in WCW, Mike Enos was like he would be looking at the booking sheet. We're like 3 weeks in one building, at Universal or Disney, and he's looking at the
Right.
booking sheet and he's like, "Okay, we're getting drug tested right here," and
Oh,
literally everyone would listen to him. I'm like, "How do you figure, Mike?" He says, "Look at it. Luger's not going to be here. Sting's not going to be here. Steiner's not going to be here. All
mm-hmm.
the top Jack Big guys are off the booking sheet. So, you know how everyone used to drink their herbal tea for marijuana to flush their system? They'd all be walking around with gallons of that tea and drinking the tea and everything. And because they all listened to his um, logic on when the
Mm-hmm.
drug test was going to be. And 9 times out of 10, he was always right.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
again, companies, no shock. Companies protect
Yeah.
talent
Oh,
from the testing.
how in the world did um who was it? Scotty Steiner would say, "Yeah, send me a limo. I'll go there and take a drug test to send Hunter with me, and we'll go together." You
We'll
know,
go together, right?
I'm sure they kind of
And
never because he was loud and boisterous about it. They probably didn't bother to test him.
right. Well, the reason the Steiners left the WWF was because they were starting drug testing. And
Oh,
Jim Ross told me that Scott, especially, said, I
right.
just love it. I just love it. And he did
Yeah.
not want to not take steroids, so made the
Right.
choice to not work there anymore. And they just went to Japan and then went back to WCW.
Yeah.
But, and that's that's honesty that you appreciate.
Sure.
And there is so, and I know, like in the early '90s, of course, after the steroid trial involving Vince, and again, Dr.
Yeah.
Zahorian, very famous name,
Sure.
Who was a commissioned doctor in the state of Pennsylvania. He was the guy who was writing the scripts for Hogan, for all the boys, and for Vince, and this, that, and the other. And it wound up being a big federal case that Vince was eventually acquitted for. But regardless, it was, Randy Savage going on Arsenio Hall. I never took steroids in my life. Give me a break. Come on, man.
You imagine him. You seen him at the end of his career? He was like bigger than ever, just jacked.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, he looks incredible.
Remember him in Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was on a show once with Brutus Beefcake, and he looked sloppy, just sloppy. A big guy, but just sloppy, fat, And within 4, 5, 6 weeks later, he was on WCW coming out with Hogan as the disciple, and he was just shredded. I'm like, oh man, he's doing like 10 IUs of growth a day or something. It had to have been because he was so freaking jacked and just ripped. It's crazy.
Here's a question from Michael in the chat. Do you think Hulk's death was attributed to steroid use?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think Hogan's problem is, and you look at the history of how many surgeries he's had. He's had 17 surgeries on his back, just his back alone.
Yeah.
Every time you go under and you get that fentanyl put in you or whatever they use to put you under, it messes up it just eats you away and kills your body. You have like they say in wrestling, you have a bump card. Watch kidding. You have a bump card. You only can take so many bumps. I think surgeries are the same way. You have a surgery card. You only can take so many surgeries before it starts affecting your overall health and everything. And I will agree with that. I think anyone you see that's died of congestive heart failure, like a lot of the boys in the 80s, they're like, oh, he was fine. Like Savage, congestive heart failure. Why? Because he was on the gear, it enlarged his heart, and 10 years later, he's having side effects. I'll give you another example. Ultimate Warrior was the same way. Also, Road Warrior Mike, Road Warrior Hawk from the Road Warriors. I was with him. Of course, he did a lot of everything else. I was with him one night in Chicago. We wrestled in Chicago, and he was supposedly clean. And he's hugging me. I love you, brother. I'll see you later. I love you. He's hanging out with all the marks, so he's, getting all the good stuff because he's getting all the marks are getting him, all the drugs and this and that, right? And Joe's like, oh, Mike, you need to stop. You need to stop. And not 2 weeks later, he was gone. So I mean, it's sad to see, and it's part of the business. It's actually I think it's part of professional sports. But the problem is and I'll give you an example: the Warlord, who he says he's dabbled a little bit here or there. I've known Terry for so many years. Terry's always been a lot of stuff. He's been jacked. The thing with Terry is, and it's also the thing with me, we didn't do all the other stuff. Yeah, I did a little bit of GHB here or there, this or that, but I didn't go to the extent of other people. I never did coke. I never did any of the street drugs, So a lot of the boys, even look, Terry, the Warlord, yeah, he did his steroids and stuff, but he never did any of the other stuff. And I think that's where it's getting you. So all the guys who are dying of congestive heart failure, it's not just the steroids, it's all the other stuff that is combined with it that's putting so much pressure on their heart. And that's the problem. It's the whole entire landscape of everything. It's just not being on, steroids. I personally believe if you use steroids within moderations, it's great. If I was a rich person, I'll live on growth hormone the rest of my life. I'll never get off of it, because
I see
it does so
guys
many
that
wonderful
are in
things
their,
for you.
they have those labs now where people go and they get,
Yeah,
legal prescriptions of
sure.
growth hormone,
Yeah,
and they look amazing into their 70s.
yeah. I remember Rocky Johnson talking about um, growth hormone, and he was like,
Really?
now there's synthetic growth hormone. Back in their day, in the 70s and 80s, they were using growth hormone, and it was either extracted from a cadaver or from like a gorilla or something like that. So he was like, "Yeah, we used to take this." Uh, Rocky was always out there and crazy, and that's why you see like the old bodybuilders, their their heads would grow bigger and their skulls and stuff like that. Is because they were taking the real growth hormone, not the synthetic stuff. So when they came up with the synthetic stuff, they were able to scale all that stuff back, but still get the reaction out of it they wanted. But yeah, Rocky's like, yeah, we used to take that stuff. They took it right out of monkeys, and gorillas, and we take that gorilla growth hormone. And he was just talk about. He was just crazy. He was just talk about everything. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
just a
And
funny guy, man. I miss being around him. He was just fun to
yeah,
hang around because he was just screw with everyone. It was just when you're sitting there with him, you knew he wasn't going to mess with you, which it would be funny if he did, but he would just fuck with everyone, and it was hilarious. He was a
right.
funny
He
guy,
was
you
always
know.
he was always working an angle. He was
Oh,
always working
yeah.
something. And
The
I
best way to
appreciate
explain
that.
Rocky is Rocky was Rocky. When they
Yes.
asked me, what do you
He
think about
was.
Rocky Johnson? Well, Rocky was Rocky. I loved him to death, but
Even
he was
even
Rocky.
Dwayne said that. Dwayne,
Oh, sure.
I've heard him say that more than once.
Yeah.
And it's like you could say whatever you wanted to about his father as long as it was true. Because
Right.
and Dwayne would agree with you. Yeah, Rocky's being Rocky.
I babysit myself and Orlando Jordan babysit Rocky for a couple years. To only
Jesus.
reason why is to keep him in check, keep him under control where he didn't embarrass The Rock. you know? And I tapped out after a while. I was like, I can't do this no more. It's exhausting. You know, Orlando, he kept with it and he got a job out of it and everything. Good for him.
Yeah, sure. So when you look at, okay, so in the 70s, guys that came from the bodybuilding culture, superstar Billy Graham, Rocky Johnson, and others, you could tell the guys that were on steroids because they were huge, and the majority of
Yeah.
wrestlers in that time looked ordinary by comparison. Not saying that they weren't strong, that they weren't in shape, but obviously, when you have that much muscularity and you're that lean, you're doing something. We get into the 80s now, and WWF, of course, was promoting, prayers and taking your vitamins and saying, eating clean or whatever. What percentage
Yeah,
of
the
that
Hulk Hogan.
roster? Yeah, what percentage of that roster was, do you think, on steroids?
Okay, so we go, and this is just my opinion.
Yep.
Go down the roster. Hogan. Yes.
Yes.
Who's after Hogan?
Savage.
Macho Man? Yes.
Yeah.
Name anyone on the
Uh,
roster.
okay. What about somebody like the Iron Sheik?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Even
about
Marty
now?
Jannetty and Shawn Michaels were on it
Yes. What about somebody like
with
Arn?
everything else. Arn
Yeah, right.
Anderson, you know what? I think he was more on that Coors Light diet.
Gotcha.
Arn's a country boy,
Yeah.
so I mean he did what he had to do to keep himself in shape. Um, did he probably mess with it a little bit here and there? Sure. I think everyone
Mm-hmm.
did. You're letting yourself go a little bit. You need to get some gears just to get a little bit better of a shape and stuff like that. Yeah, but not on a regular basis. Flair's
All right.
probably the
How
same
about
way.
the
He'd get on stuff. What's
Yeah.
that?
How about these guys? How about Piper, Orndorff? Yes, yes.
Piper probably off and on. Orndorff all the time. Sure.
Yeah.
All the
What about
time. He
somebody
looked
like?
incredible. He
What
had a
about?
great body.
Yeah, I know. What about somebody like Cowboy Bob Orton?
Sure. I mean, he wasn't on it
Really?
like all the other guys, but yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, all the guys were on it. Of course.
Now this is one that I disagree with
And
because
this
I
is
saw
my
this in the chat.
opinion.
Yeah. Now what about somebody like Nikolai Volkov? Because he looked the same in the 70s as he did in the 80s.
Right,
I
because he
don't
was
think he
probably
was.
consistently on it the whole time. He was a
Really?
big dude. He was a big dude.
I know he was a big dude, but really,
Your
wow.
body only
Okay.
gets so big. There's only a
Mm-hmm.
percentage of people that can get bigger than what normally a body can, the skeleton of a body can naturally um maintain and hold. Once you
Mm-hmm.
start putting all muscle on top of it, is because you're having a little bit of help. Now, he might not have
Gotcha.
been on a bunch of stuff, but he was probably on something consistent all the time. Just
Interesting.
enough. Nothing great, not no, say, hunter way, like you were talking earlier, but yeah, probably
Right.
enough just to keep that size, keep that look that he was shot for, the goal he was looking for. But he was a big dude.
Yeah. What about, okay, so now, and what we can say is that pretty much everybody was on something.
Sure.
And even the same in NWA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys like Magnum was on steroids
Sure.
to
I
be
don't
that size.
I don't say I yeah, uh, he definitely was on, I don't think he was on it all the time. I think he was on it enough to achieve the look that he needed. So he
Right.
might have been on, you know, a CC or two a test a week with a couple other things just to maintain his look, you know, compared to the pharmacy the other boys are on, the Road Warriors
Yeah.
or, Sid or um, all those big guys, Dan Spivey, all those big giant guys. They're all on
Mm-hmm.
something. When you sit next to them in the dressing room, theirs is like, you know, does anyone ever think Vince was clean?
I don't think so.
No.
I he was yeah, I
He's like
mean he
Scotty
was
Style. I mean, he's like Scotty Steiner. He just liked the feel of it, and he liked the
mm-hmm.
look of it. He liked what he looked. The thing is, people talk about roid rage and all that stuff. No, all it does is it it, it never did anything that to me. When you got it was when you cycled off of it, and
Mm-hmm.
your body you're losing it out of your system, so you're working twice as hard to try to maintain it, but you're losing the gains you made, so you start getting mental about it because you're losing it. That's there's some people, but road rage is all it does is amplify you a little bit. So if you're an
Mm-hmm.
asshole, so your normal mentality is an asshole. When you're on steroids, guess what? You're going to be an asshole, just a little bit bigger of an asshole. If you're like a
Gotcha.
cool, calm, and collected person like I was the same way when I was on everything. I was
Mm-hmm.
never an asshole. I didn't have road rage and stuff like that. But when you get off of it is when you start getting depressed because you look in the mirror and you don't see what you saw when you're on it. It starts messing with your head. And by this time, because you came off of it, now your testosterone level is naturally lower because it releases naturally in your body. When you start using a synthetic drug to increase it, it blocks the natural release of it. So now your levels are low, and signs of that is being sluggish, depression. You have fatigue, all kinds of stuff. So that's why they put old guys on, older people on testosterone because their levels they want it north of 600. Depending on what
Mm-hmm.
kind of doctor you want, and you have people that their testosterone levels are like 100 or 200 that are old guys, so they put them on test now. In the the doctors nowadays,
I
they do
might
that
have
all
to
the
do
time.
that. I think I might start doing that. Here, this will shock you. From Scott. I met Billy Gunn as a kid at an autograph signing. When he was 13. Asked him how he got in the WWF. He looked at me and said, "Good looks and steroids."
Uh,
I'm
oh,
shocked. Oh, he's so
kind of screwed
gassed.
over. He got
Every
he got fired from um, being an NXT coach
yeah.
because not because they drug tested him, because he was doing a powerlifting competition, like an all natural, and I guess he was on something that the doctor prescribed to him. So because they found out about that, they's like, we have to hold you accountable here. I have a doctor. He had a doctor's note, prescription from the doctor for it, and everything. You know.
When
So
when Simon Dean Bucci, when he was in developmental, he was telling guys to get on the gas, and it was like, no, I was in the same spot, and I had
oh wow,
conversations with guys, and I said, you do whatever you have to do as long as it's legal. And if
yeah.
it's not legal, then I don't need to know about it, but you do what you need to do. He was just outright. You need to get on the gas. You need to take this and you need to take that.
I remember. Yes, Kevin Sullivan was. He stole mine a bunch.
Oh, yeah. Kevin Sullivan, definitely on the
Yes.
steroids.
He's like, oh, yeah, I need that good stuff, that like Phenoplex, and that's kind of made in
Phenoplex. What the
homemade
hell
stuff.
is that?
It's a very oily um, steroid, but it just makes you big and hard and thick. And you got any of that stuff? I mean, I got it, and there'd be oil on the outside of the bottle because they make it, in a home lab and everything. And
Oh,
he's like,
wow.
give me some of that Phenoplex and have them make it a little extra strong, like you always do. You know. So, um, but yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Something else, but my mind shot when I read that.
All right. So you bring up a point that I want to talk about as well. When you would see guys, and you still see it today, and it always surprises me, and they have back knee, right?
Oh yeah.
That means they're taking steroids, right?
I would say that's probably a really good indicator. It's an indicator
Okay.
for that because they probably got some like some dirty, oily stuff, you know? So,
And they broke out.
yeah, yeah,
Now, there's water-based and there's oil-based steroids.
right.
The oil-based probably works better, stays in your system longer.
Yeah, yeah, the water base is in and out in a couple days. So, oh, I know what I was going to say. I remember when WWE, and this was in the mid 90s, they started really cracking down hard on growth hormone and stuff like that. All the boys stopped taking growth and they started taking insulin, which is really tricky because insulin will make you big and jacked. So they'd all take insulin because it's not detected because they weren't testing for that. But the problem is, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't take it the right way, you're going to become insulin dependent. So it's real. I never did insulin because it was a lot of people like pro bodybuilders. They'll take all their stuff with growth and then take insulin with it. It's like the icing on top of the cake, a little extra cherry up there. So, but
Now,
the
that could
WWE
screw up
guys
your
would take
pancreas.
insulin. Well, that's the fine line you had to find where the right magic dose was, where you didn't, you know, run into that.
Gotcha. Do you know guys, and I've heard this, that there are several guys who are still active in the industry today that take insulin. And they talk
Oh
about,
yeah,
well,
I'm
I'm
sure.
not on steroids. They just take insulin.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I'm sure.
I'm
I,
sure.
nothing, nothing surprises me in this whole world, let alone because of the wrestling. Nothing surprises me in the world, shall we say?
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I, everything's believable to me. Like,
So
sure, yeah.
in the job guy set, in the enhancement guys, was
hmm
everybody on the gear pretty much?
No, no, God, no, no. Look at some of those job guys.
Well, I know, but Barry Houston had to be on something.
Sure, yeah. Todd was, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Trying to think of the guys that were in good shape that looked like they were about to break out,
Hey, Bob Cook, were you on the gas? He'd probably say, Hell no, I was a fat slob. Yeah. There's a
Bob
few
Cook,
times
not on
in
the gas.
Bob Cook's life that I thought he looked pretty good. You know, he's a big guy. Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys. I mean, I didn't all the time, but once I was everything was getting setting everything up and all that. And say I was 18 my first match, so probably 21, 22, 23 is when I started, and probably a couple years after that is when I really started taking like whatever I could get my hands on. You know, I was like the mad scientist. Whatever I can get, I will take. You know,
Did you ever
because
have a
and
bad
then
reaction? Did you ever have a bad reaction to anything?
no, I've had it where I ran out because I miscalculated or the order was delayed or whatever, and then I would start to have not kind of withdrawal symptoms, like oh, I'd be cramping, like oh, like sitting there as I started cramping and stuff like that. So, but no, but that's really all it was. But it's I turned everything around. I worked hard. I was at the gym every day for,
Mm-hmm.
training hard. I was eating. My diet was perfect. It wasn't easy. Just, oh, I'm going to take a shot and be good to go. No, no. Now, I will tell you that I made trips over to South America where there's no prescriptions needed. So you can walk into a pharmacy, you can get whatever you want. You can get liquid clenbuterol, which raises your body core and makes you burn fat. And one of the guys went over there one time, got a bunch of that and a bunch of steroids and everything, and actually took so much in that one tour. I wasn't on the tour; he was on the other one. And his heart exploded. Um, his heart exploded, and he died over there. And I told that story about how we were trying to be
Right.
detained in there. But I was there once, and um, I got a bottle of Winstraw V. Over here, it cost about, for a 50cc bottle back in the day, it cost around $350. And I got it for like $25 over there. And I
Hmm.
wasn't stupid enough to where I was gonna try to ship it home or sneak it home or anything like that because I don't want to go to prison. I didn't want to go to jail. So I bought the 50cc bottle. It's water based, so it's in and out of your system in a day or two. So I was like, 50 cc's, I'm here for 9 days. How many cc's am I going to do a day? I divided, I'm going to take this whole thing when I was there. And so the only problem was over there is they didn't have a bunch of syringes, the needles. So I got
Oh,
one syringe. So I would take it and just use it. And I put it in a glass jar of rubbing alcohol to keep it sanitized for, and then so I always back then I would shoot it right in my quad, the front of my big muscle in my leg, and you would see all the boys come walking around. Whoever had like the little blood stains on their shorts, they've
right.
been going. Every time I went to the room, I would just take an injection. And I came off the plane and they're like, "Holy shit, what happened to you? You got in shape real quick." I was like, "Yeah, it said 50cc diet."
Damn. And that would then just be okay. I'll throw the bottle away now because I'm done with it. And 9 days later, you were
I
good to
guess
go.
it was the same scenario that Hack and Dave that uh that 9 or 10 grams of coke when they were over there in Peru. It was so good they didn't want to waste it, so they tried to do it all. I was the same way when it came to the Winnie V. I wanted to
I
do it
I
all.
forget. I forget there was somebody who was going to the ring once, and they had a obvious needle mark on their leg, and they were bleeding as they were walking to the ring. I can't remember. I I wouldn't want to say who I think it was because I'm not sure because I don't want to get
Was
sued.
it one of the contract
But
guys?
oh yeah,
Oh wow. Well, maybe they
yeah.
did do their stuff on the road. See, that's what I didn't understand is they had to travel with it then, you know?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think there were probably a lot of local connects.
Well,
So
yeah,
if
maybe.
depending
That
on where
means
the
you're
routing
always
was,
constantly having to, get with like if you're taking oil base, like if you're taking tests, if you take 1 cc a day, the proper way is to take a half a cc the first part of the half, and then you space it out and take the other half a cc, and that way it's nice smooth sailing. Because what happens when you take it, it spikes your oxygen level, then goes back down. So
Mm,
what the logic is, you want to keep it plateaued all the way across, so you space it out. So these guys have to take all this stuff. So I don't know. I love to talk to one of those guys and ask them how they are scheduling for that. If you're taking growth hormone, you take that 5 days a week. You take it
right.
every day. So they had to been traveling with it.
Sure.
What about China? What's your thoughts on her?
Oh, she was obviously on all kinds of
She's on some
all kinds of
serious.
stuff
Now, she was
because it affects women
jacked.
differently. It affects
Oh yeah,
women way differently.
I remember the first time I walked in and seen her, I was like, holy shit, she's
Yeah.
huge. I mean, I felt bad. I said, I look like shit compared to her. She was so big. And,
Right.
and but then didn't they start making her taper down a little off it, having surgery, breast enhancement, shaving her jaw a little bit and stuff like that?
I think she
Because
wanted to
she
do that.
changed a lot, you know?
Yeah, she wanted to be more feminine looking.
Try to do Playboy probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Got her boobs done and became more feminine, softer features. But when you look at somebody like that, it's like, damn. I mean, right away.
Right.
But sometimes, did I was Sable on steroids? No, probably not.
No.
But who knows? I doubt it. Was Luna on steroids?
Yes.
Yes. You know that for a fact.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She is
Um,
I love Luna to death. She is bat fucking crazy.
yes. Yes,
And
she was.
everyone that really knew Luna knew that.
Yeah. That's what we all just loved her. Um,
Yeah.
so so obviously then drug testing comes along, and let's talk
Yeah.
about the modern era of wrestling and the way the drug testing is done. At first there were a whole bunch of guys getting getting wellness policy violations, getting a strike, getting two
Right.
strikes, a couple guys got fired, whatever. um do you think that was for steroids, or do you think that was more for street drugs, cocaine, marijuana, etc.?
Honestly, I think it was more for recreational drugs than for steroids.
Okay. Because
Because
there were
I mean,
ways to, if I'm going to a doctor and if I have a prescription, guys were not getting strikes for that, from what we understood. I wasn't in the company
right.
at the time.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then, so if you got a strike, then, but I know that there were a couple of guys that, like Sho Funaki, didn't he get a strike? And that was because he was carrying he had the stuff shipped to him? Something like that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Like
mean that.
he was carrying for John Cena was the story. And so that's how he got his strike. He wasn't necessarily taking it. But yeah, like Brock and Shelton Benjamin got hit when they were in OVW because they got something shipped to them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a couple of
Where
guys
did they
got hit
ship it
just from,
to? The office?
I like their room in Louisville. I don't know how they, but what was the process? But since I can't remember, okay, they don't publicize wellness policy violations. And the last one that I heard about most recently was Andrade. Now, if you looked at
Mm,
Andrade, of course, yeah, sure, he's gassed up. No kidding.
yeah. Sure.
Um, he doesn't
But
look
what was the
different than,
violation for?
they didn't say. Now, again, they don't publicize it, but
See,
that
the thing is,
he was
a
released.
steroid test is really, really expensive to do.
Yeah,
So I think what they're doing was saying, yeah, we have a wellness policy. So they were testing, but they weren't really testing for steroids, especially at first. And for GHB is even harder because You can't just, because you naturally have GHB in your growth hormone in your system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not GHB, HGH. You normally
Oh, I.
you have HGH in your system. Totally shot. I said the wrong thing there. So what they have to do is they have to have a baseline and then test you later to see if it spiked and went up, because it's not going to jump up a couple hundred points naturally on its own. So
Right.
that's the only way
Right.
they can test if you have. They have to do a baseline first and then test it later, see if it spiked at all. So
So,
what happened is a lot of the guys were just getting off of the gear and just taking a lot of growth, and they were fine for a long time because they could pass if they did a steroid test, they could pass it because they've never done, because they're already big guys. So the growth hormone will help you maintain and retain all that muscle mass and just lean you out like the warrior. He was on Ultimate Warriors on all kinds of growth hormone. That guy was shredded. You know who had a good body who was not jacked too was Kerry Von Erich. He
oh
was always in
yeah,
great shape,
sure.
you know. Mr.
And he
Perfect
was
would talk about all those guys too.
right. Perfect
Make
was
fun of
another
all of
guy
them.
who was blatantly honest,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and introduced me to the wonderful cocktail of taking a Soma and a Vicodin. Very underrated.
Yeah.
Um, but
Kevin Sullivan
when you
introduced me to taking Vicodins with mini thins.
see, then it has like a positive effect. I'm
Yeah.
staying lean. The good old days of
Yeah.
mini thins.
Yeah.
Um, Now, okay, so in this modern era, they're not publicizing the strikes.
Right.
And but that doesn't mean that the talent isn't getting fined or suspended. If there's been some, let's just say, some guys that kind of go on a disappearing act, and what happened to him? He was getting the push, and now he's disappeared. Could
Right.
that be a wellness thing? Do you think?
I guess it possibly could be, but don't you think now that with WWE, because they're under the umbrella of TKO, because UFC does testing all the time, they do the
Right.
top level testing of all their fighters, and don't you think that, and they publicize it when you fail and everything. I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be instituted over into WWE also.
Might. Now, again, a lot of that is through the state athletic commissions. So
Okay.
I don't think TKO would test for shit if it wasn't required for fighting
Right.
um, under the guidelines of the state athletic commissions. And again, there are no state athletic commissions that make you that will fail you for steroids. They are
Oh,
looking
really?
for so some states require blood testing,
Recreational.
but
Yeah.
they're looking for recreational stuff, and they're looking for contagious diseases like AIDS or
Yeah.
HIV or
Right.
hepatitis, things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And I only know of one athlete in Kentucky whose license was revoked for cocaine.
Oh,
So
really?
he had done cocaine. Then he took his license test. He was not, he was he in developmental? I don't think he ever was, but he was an OVW guy. And
Oh, wow.
so he was out of commission for a while. But yeah, most of the time you just, you got to get a blood test done, and they're not really testing for steroids.
Yeah.
And the state athletic commissions, for the most part, are kind of a work. They're testing your blood pressure,
All
and
right.
they're
Make sure you're
testing
healthy.
your
You
heart
want that
rate.
croak out there. Yeah.
Yeah, but by and
Now,
large, it's
what
kind of
what
just
about
like
AEW?
take money.
Did they have a wellness program, or was
Not
anything
that
ever
I ever
said?
saw.
Oh, okay.
Not that I ever saw. There were always rumors of drug testing that would be coming down the pike. In fact, so when I was there, um, there was a doctor that they had hired. They had Doc Sampson, who came from WWE, and he was
Mhm.
like the main doctor. But then they hired another guy to be the doctor, and he told me, in addition to Sampson, Sampson was still there. But this new doctor who came in, he told me that he was there because in a few weeks he was going to be doing the drug test.
Wow.
So he was there as the drug testing guy, but he was sort of embedded in the company. And that a few weeks from that conversation, the drug testing was going to start. And then like the next week or so, I was gone. So I never was there when it happened, nor do we know any of the results from that happening.
Right. Like the landscape of wrestling has changed so much, how wrestling's evolved. So it's a lot of flippity floppity stuff. And a lot of those guys aren't on stuff. Like the Young
No.
Bucks. You
No.
look at what's his name, the guy climbed Mount Rushmore.
Oh, Darby Allin. No.
Yeah, he's not on stuff. So the
No.
landscape has changed so much until basically a lot of those guys are all backyarders, so they weren't like real wrestlers to begin with. They just landed themselves in a promotion that became national, and stuff like that. They never were on stuff, because it's just how things changed and the landscape. So you used to go big old cookie cutters when Vince, that's how he wanted everyone to be. And I wonder how he took it when he realized that his boys can't be on the gas, so it's going to change their bodies and everything. I wonder how Vince dealt with that.
I know that it was something serious to him.
Right.
He took the subject very seriously. Then, because of the cost issue, and when I was there, drug testing was never talked about. It was always potentially coming on the horizon. But JR told me that, probably a couple of years into my tenure there, that he was never going to fire anybody for pot or steroids.
Really?
And and the only guys that I ever had to fire were those that were in Memphis, because they failed drug tests, but for cocaine. So I had to tell Tracy Smothers that he was fired and he was like, man, I just, doing a little gas, a little pot, just, trying to keep up with these young guys. I'm like, Tracy tested positive for cocaine.
You had to fire Tracy?
I did.
Oh, you were in talent relations too.
Yeah. Then he got up and he punched the wall and he left.
Over the years.
Tracy was the only guy that I ever had to fire. Broke my heart.
Tracy was a really good guy too, though.
What a sweetheart.
I remember in WCW, Tracy used to travel with Steve and Scott Armstrong, right? Especially no, actually it was Steve and Brad. And they drove in this little camper, like motorhome camper, the mini ones, and they always showed up late because they were in there smoking their weed, and you could see them pulling the parking lot, the door open, it would be like a fog or just, and spraying all their cologne on and everything. Oh man, we're so sorry. We read the map wrong. Meanwhile, they're just smizzing and just kept on driving right by the exit.
I don't know how people smoke pot and drive. I know it's very common nowadays, but I could never do it.
I never smoked marijuana. I've taken some edibles, and a couple months ago I took some edibles, and I'm like, I don't feel nothing. Let me take some more. Man, I was sitting on the side of my bed, and I was like, oh my God. Like I was going paranoid. I thought I was gonna die. My girl's like, just breathe, you'll be okay. I'm like, that's it, I'm done. I'm never doing these things again.
Tremendous.
Paranoid over edibles.
Stokely Hathaway made good pot brownies in Ring of Honor. He did.
Do they have a wellness process in the Ring of Honor, or no?
No.
Oh,
hell
okay.
No.
We know ECW didn't.
No.
I was told I had to try out.
If you were not on drugs, you got fired.
That's exactly what I was told. I got to try out with ECW when they were down. They did the Florida Loop down in Fort Lauderdale, the War Memorial, and Rob got me the tryout. He called Tommy, and Tommy's, just send him. And it happens to be Robbie was late that day, so Tommy Dreamer was like, just go out there and work with someone. So I went in there and worked and everything. How was it? And kind of just went nowhere. And learning everything after the fact. Um, the mother of my children, who I was married to, she grew up in Yonkers, New York, with Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy was in her circle. Tommy was dating her best friend, and they
Oh.
always she like. So I remember once she went with D'Lo's wife to one of the pay-per-views for WWF, right? I was staying home, Chase was a baby. I got like 3 phone calls within like 15 minutes. Hey man, your wife's backstage at WWF. I'm like, yeah, I know. Dreamer calls me. He's like, hey man, and after the fact, I got to know him a lot better. He's like, I didn't know that she was your wife. I said, yeah. Imagine if I'd have known that when I had my trial. This guy, no. He said, I would have took care of you and done something for you. But I didn't realize it. And she's like, oh, she just one day we were watching. She's like, hey, that's Tom Laughlin. She's like, I grew up with him. I said, no way. She's like, yeah, I grew up with him. It's um Andrea's old boyfriend. We thought they were going to get married and everything. She ended up passing
Damn.
away, and I called and told him about it. And he's like, "Oh man," he was still friends with the family and all that. And because when he was in talent relations with WWE, he used to call me a lot because a lot of the guys used to send um, tapes up there, so he'd call me and ask about him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I had MXPW.
Damn. On a sidebar, and that's I love stories like that. My buddy Ryan. Hello, Ryan. Any news on Christmas Crush? Yeah, it's not happening. Sorry. All events for the pro wrestling are postponed until I get my finances straightened out because I lost money, so I don't want to lose money anymore. So we're either going to do fundraising shows or we're going to get a benefactor, but probably just do fundraising.
We're going to do paid shows only.
That's it. I have a couple friends in the business that were like, that's all we do. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But we'll run something again. We're just not going to run December 13th because I don't want to take a chance on losing money. So
be very
we just didn't have enough paid people. We didn't have enough paid people. We had tons of fans, and the engagement was great. But it wasn't enough to make a financial difference. And
yeah, the only way that works is if you have someone with money behind you that understands, okay, we're building a fan base, so we're going to give away a bunch of tickets, and eventually, it's all going to come to where they're going to become a paid, patron.
Yeah, I am bummed as well, Ryan, but we will be back. And that's the thing. I can't afford to take a risk. I
know that name from somewhere. Why did I know that name?
I don't know. Ryan O'Toole? Ryan O'Toole. I don't know. He's a big fan.
I know you, Ryan?
I don't know. We'll find out. All right. So we did a deep dive into steroids, and basically the answer is everybody was on them, and they lied if they said they weren't. Ryan, I will definitely I will talk to you about this further because I just need people with money who are willing to front the costs, and then we'll be honest with them. We'll be straightforward, and because that's all I need. I just don't want to lay out a bunch of cash. Like I had to go buy my son a tire today, okay, and it was $240, and I'm like, he's got to get 3 more, but they didn't have enough time to do it, and he needed to go back to school, so he's going to come back in 3 weeks, and he's going to get 3 more tires. And so that's $1,000,
$700, $800.
It winds up being $1,000. Right, it winds up being $1,000.
That's 2 matches.
Yeah, I'm not rich.
Right.
I'm not rich. They're not throwing me out of my house, but I'm not rich. And you can't take on a risk like that. I'm not in a financial position to take on risk. And then potentially not be able to get my son tires for his car that he needs for school. So
wrestling's not that important.
No,
let someone else do it.
Exactly. I can.
A couple other real quick things. We talked about Bugsy and his health, and so everyone keep him in your thoughts, your prayers, whatever you do. Another one was Joe Gomez that we spoke about many times on the show. He had a
Right.
stroke a couple weeks, about a month ago. I've talked to him once or twice. I've texted him all the time. He says he's getting better all the time. And then, do you remember a Florida guy named Randy Starr?
Sounds familiar.
He did some TV stuff. Anyhow, about 8 years ago, he fell off a roof of a house doing roofing and fell on a piece of rebar and became
Ooh.
paralyzed from the waist down. So he's been in a wheelchair and all that. I guess he was in one of those standing wheelchairs where it stands you up, and apparently he had a stroke. So um, now I've had like multiple friends of mine that I know on a you know, uh, I guess intimate level that's had strokes in the last you know, month or so. So, just
Right.
as Joe said, Joe told me, he says, take care of yourself. Take your blood pressure serious, because that's, I guess, what happened to him. Probably had nothing to do with the fact that he loves to eat, you know,
Well,
which
I
if
mean,
Joe
there is
heard it, he would
that.
laugh and, he would laugh and everything because he always joked around with me about that, oh, we just love to eat and stuff like that. So,
You get a
but,
blockage, and you get a blockage in your neck, in your carotid artery, and it's going to cut
yeah.
off the blood flow to your brain. You're going to have a stroke.
Oh, no,
Does
to answer Scott's
so here's
question,
yeah.
yeah,
Do Bugsy or Joe need anything? GoFundMe
no, no,
helpful?
they're, they're, they're good. Joe, as
Yeah.
Joe would say, he's the luckiest person in the world. He always said that. Bugsy's wife did tell me they're older. She's like, Bugsy's like, we don't have that app, so we don't have that thing on the phone where we can get a ride. Talking about Uber, so she's used a taxi cab. I guess in that 6 weeks in the hospital, she says I spent $3,500 in taxis. She says, but I
Oh
would
my
do it
God.
again if I had to. And
Well,
I said, next time just call me. And what happened? He said I wanted to. He's like, for some reason, he says all my numbers disappeared. They're lost somewhere. He said I got to go to T-Mobile and see if they can find them. So he
Jesus.
couldn't get a hold of anyone until he said I don't have a book no more like I used to where they're all written down because everyone gets dependent on your phone and stuff like that.
Right.
So you think they would have like an app or your phones would have something where you could download it and it would go all onto like a sheet and then you can print that out instead of have to write them all down,
Yeah, I bet you probably could do that.
Yeah,
I would
probably someone
imagine,
knows
right?
more than me. So he's like, I
Yeah.
wanted to call you, I just didn't know how to. So I had to wait for you to call me. I'm like, okay.
There you
So
go. There you go. All right. Well, listen, next week we're going to we're going to have a new subject, of course. We're going to talk about something that will be controversial, that will titillate everybody's fancy. And we'll decide upon that probably between 5 and, oh no, next week I'm actually on the road. So you got a special edition coming up
yes, I'm working on
of
it.
the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast.
Yes, I'm working on it. So we'll try to get it going and get it rolling. I had to experiment with the editing equipment and see if I can get it all set up. But I think I'm pretty confident I'll be able to.
Next
So
weekend
it's a little adventure
I'm
I went
doing
on.
hey, tremendous. I'm going on my
Yeah.
own adventure next weekend. We're doing seminars, me and Bob Evans. We're going to be in Wichita, Kansas on Saturday, and then Kansas City, Missouri on Sunday. So in 2 weeks I'll be back, and I'll
Oh
have
wow.
the full report on
Actually,
everything in the Midwest.
I did speak to Sam Houston, and I told him that we'd love to have you on the show. He's like, oh, I'd love to come on it and everything. We're just whittling down the details to lock it all in for the time and all that. I think he'd be a really, really fascinated person to talk to. Um, we have a way of being able to, maybe because we are in the business, we did the same thing he did, so
Mm-hmm.
we can ask better questions, I think, and get into the nitty gritty more than
I
other
want to know the
podcasts
nitty
can.
and the gritty when it comes to
That's
Sam
right.
Houston.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
It be
Well, just think
fascinating.
about it. He was married to Baby Doll,
Yep.
okay, which he got tons of heat for.
Yes.
And Jake was his brother.
Yep.
His dad was Grizzly Smith. Come on, you
Yep.
know. And not only that, he's had a lot of demons in his life and stuff, which he talks
Sure.
about and everything. He's doing really well and all that. So, um, hopefully this week I can get him locked down, get him in, because I think it'd be great for us just to sit there and talk with him. You
Yeah,
know,
I
have
would
him
enjoy
come
that
on
a
and
lot.
visit with us for a little bit.
That's right. A podcast that I was doing a few years ago, I had Dennis Stamp as a guest, and he, of course, most famous for being in Beyond the Mat, where he's jumping on the trampoline, and he's told Terry Funk that he wasn't booked and he wasn't coming, and he wound up refereeing the match with Bret Hart. Anyway, we had Dennis on this podcast I was doing a few years ago, and he was into poetry, and he had written a bunch of poems, so he read some of them on the air, and it was all about wrestling. It was very interesting. He wound up passing away, but you never know what these guys are doing in their post-ring life. Like when we had Sarge on a couple months ago, we talked with him. He worked in the construction industry all the way up until then. He got out of the construction industry, and now after everything closed, he got back into construction.
Yeah,
and now he's in a supervisory role. Dwayne Bruce. So that's what we'll be doing. We're working on a lot of stuff. Casey's got a new T-shirt. We're gonna have swag. We'll have, we'll have some store set up soon where you can order your own. Be great.
Yep. I've a couple different designs. This is one of them, but I'm gonna make the logo a little bit bigger. I'm kind of figuring out what we want. The ones I sent you are pretty cool. So I guess maybe the next time we're on, we'll both be able to wear them. And when we're on live in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll be all decked out. So that's our schedule here for the next couple of weeks, and we're looking forward to that. Up until then, we want everybody to like anything that you see on YouTube. Click that like button. Go ahead and subscribe, and if you want to get notifications of when new content will be posted to YouTube from the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast, go ahead and hit that bell so you'll get notified. And again, just like, share, subscribe, and tell everybody you know about it, and make new friends by telling complete strangers about the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast.
Put a comment down and we'll talk about it here, because someone did want to know what Kevin Kelly's been up to for the last 20 years.
Where have you been?
What have you been doing, Kevin?
I don't know.
It's got to be a Fort Pierce guy, someone from South Florida. Kevin Kelly, I haven't seen him in a decade, since WWF. What you been doing, Kevin, since then?
Oh.
Doesn't that sound like a South Florida guy?
That definitely does. Fort Pierce all the way. Oh my God!
I was using Cliff's monologue in mind there. Cliff Anderson.
We could all do the Cliff Anderson promo, I think. We're going to continue this journey each and every week, and it's so much fun, and we enjoy bringing all of this to you. And again, just pulling back the curtain on different things that fans are interested in, never knew, and nobody else is going to really tell you, because even guys like Maven are kayfabers, and they only tell what they want to tell because they still want a job, and neither of us care. So you're going to hear everything, warts and all.
I call the Undertaker out.
That's right.
He doesn't wear the pants in his family. I don't
Michelle
care.
McCool
Because you know what? They're not going to do nothing for me. So why not? I don't care. I'm
whatever their
with,
situation is,
right here.
Hey, it's their situation. And if you don't like their podcast, don't listen to it.
Yeah,
they had a good thing.
I don't think people are.
Yeah, they had a good thing. They made a change, and people don't like it. Okay, so don't listen.
I wonder if we can get that guy Matt to come on.
Oh, I don't think so, because
I bet he's buddies with Taker, so he's not going to say anything.
Because then he's not going to want to say anything.
Yeah,
and we'll go nowhere. It'll suck.
Yeah, I didn't realize you're buddies with James, the guy from England.
I'm not buddies with him. I know who he is.
Oh, okay.
Before the show, I was just messaging with my buddy Sarah Stock, former AEW producer, former WWE producer, Sarita wrestler, TNA.
Okay.
I think she's fantastic. She's one of the best agents that AEW had. Of course, they let her go. But she was getting into it with what's his face's widow, and I was like, "Stand up for yourself, girl. Go ahead." And she was like, "Oh my God, Eddie? You have no idea what." But Brody Lee.
Oh, was she upset about? I've heard a lot of people talk about. I guess the kid went out there to wrestle a match. He's like,
no, this was about this was Sarah going, choking with a belt and think about the kids and stuff like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
Anyway, she's, so Amanda is her name, and she fires off a missive about this, that, or the other. And Sarah messages me like, you should have seen the text messages, the profanity-laced text messages I was getting. And
Oh,
damn, you should
wow.
put those out. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
what a sick place that is. So happy to be gone. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast. For your host, the creator himself, Casey Thompson, I'm Kevin Kelly, and we'll see you next time on the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast.